this because we recorded it before, and I think I watched it again, and I was kind of unhappy with some of the things I was talking about in our first recording of our movie review of Us. So you were very accommodating and said, "Hey, let's do it again." I'm like, "All right, I'm down."
Yeah, I think I also saw it a second time, and man, I think these movies actually just get better the second time around. Like,
yeah,
it allows you to catch more of the details and the little callbacks and things that are
right.
similar. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm pouring a beer actually from your neck of the woods, Prairie Artisan Ales.
Oh, nice. I was at Prairie last night.
Oh, I have yet to be, but you have to go. But they brew fantastic beer, especially their stouts.
Oh yeah, for real.
This is their Snickerdoodle Vanilla Noir.
Oh,
Noir.
that one is
Whatever.
good. Yeah. Last night, what did we have last night? And again, I was drinking last night, like drinking. So I can't remember. It might have been Bourbon Barrel Paradise that I had last night. Whatever it was,
good.
it was really good. It had like a great pineapple coconut flavor in there. It's really good stuff.
All right, so let's get to the movie Us. This is Jordan Peele's second movie, and I would argue it's his most more horror type movie compared to the other two. Between Get Out, that was more like a psychological thriller, and Nope was kind of a mix of between a psychological thriller and a horror movie, because there were some horror movie elements as well as some thriller elements.
Yeah, there's definitely like they're kind of genre bending movies where it's like, this is Nope was kind of a horror with sci-fi, or a sci-fi with horror elements.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah,
a bunch of ways you could categorize that, but Us was definitely for me the scary one. Like,
right.
Yeah,
I totally agree. Just the whole vibe of the movie, the whole from start to finish. A lot of it was filmed at night, so there's a lot of dark scenes. So that always adds to a horror movie, right? Like all the scariest movies are at night.
Yeah.
Things, Goosebumps and Fear Street and Goes Bump in the Night and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, and like, well, do you want to start at the beginning? Because I'm just going into like I was gonna jump into something that's in the middle of the film, but.
Well, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Jump in.
The first time they see the family in the driveway, that's a very effective horror moment that only will work if it's dark outside,
Yeah. Yeah, because we see the family with the backlight, so you don't know, they're just figures at that point. Yeah. And you don't really realize it's them until, they come into the house.
Yeah, and they're just lined up on the driveway, and that's.
So the bare bones plot of this movie is that there's a family in Santa Cruz, and they get attacked by themselves, by their doppelgangers, and they have to survive. And then lo and behold, it's happening all over the world.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about this movie is the nod to like hands across America, right? And how that was a real thing. So like, and it was such a weird thing too, that like what we were fighting hunger by holding hands across America, and it was supposed to be this like big togetherness moment, but it didn't fully work out.
No, because there was large swaths of the country that people just didn't want to stand it.
Yeah, people just like, no, there aren't even enough people living in this part of South Dakota for us to even populate. Right. But you can't have hands across South Dakota, I guess.
And but like, I'm old enough. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say that I love the commercial for Hands Across America that he chose to use in the movie. And I did go back and like look that up on YouTube, and it's like there are so many different ones. And I didn't remember, like I was real little. I don't remember any of that. But the one that he uses, like the narrator says, like, what has 12 million eyes? And it's like, what a weird thing to say. What has 12 million eyes? You're like, maybe an Eldritch Horror. No.
Didn't it say like
Hands Across America?
Like 12 million eyes, 196 teeth, or something odd like that.
Yeah, it's just like this weird. Yeah, it's like that is a really weird way to advertise this. It's a really weird way to put that.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, no thanks.
Why not 12 million souls or 12 million hearts or 6 million hearts or something like that.
I don't know that makes it better than like what has 12 million hearts,
Yeah. But yeah, I remember I was old enough to remember Hands Across America. I was like around 9 or 10 when it was going on. I didn't know really what it was about or what it was for, but I knew that they wanted to create a human link, a chain, if you will, people holding hands all the way across America. I thought it was a neat idea and I wanted to be part of it, but I was too young to even, suggest it or figure out how to do it. And I'm sure my parents wouldn't let me just go off. Well, I don't know. It was 1986. So back then, you let your kids go out and do whatever they want as long as they come home when the street lights turn on.
Yeah, my parents might have sent me off with my sister to go join Hands Across America. Like, bye, Mom. We're gonna go hold hands with some weirdos. It could happen. It could happen.
Yeah, it could still happen. Who knows? Someone's eyeing this and then coming up with their own. But I don't know, with COVID and now monkeypox. Although that seems like a lot harder to contract than COVID. COVID's very easy to contract.
But that is how you would get monkeypox, is by holding hands with somebody that had monkeypox.
I wouldn't. So, yeah, I wouldn't. I saw pictures of it.
Across America, it would just never work. It would just. No. It could be social distancing across America.
6 feet apart.
Yeah,
there'd be less
let's
people.
all get together and stand 6 feet apart.
You need less people to do it.
Right? We might be able to fill out South Dakota this time.
There might be enough people.
South Dakota's gonna message you and be angry about this. So I apologize. South Dakota's a great place. There's just not a lot of you.
No, there's not. Or Wyoming or Montana.
Yeah.
It's a big country. That's why they call it big country, because there's just a lot of space. Yeah. So the movie opens up that there's a family walking on Santa Cruz Boardwalk. Dad's a little tipsy, wanted to win prizes for his kid. Thinks he's so didn't he say like, oh, I could have been in the major leagues or something like that?
Oh yeah.
Because he was throwing the balls to knock the milk bottles down, and wins the kid a T-shirt, a Michael Jackson T-shirt, and even the mom's like, she was scared. Shirt. Yeah, she was scared of the video, and that was a pretty scary video. I don't know if you ever watched it.
Yeah, like when you were young. Scared. Yeah, I was scared of that when I was little. Like, it freaked me out.
Yeah, that was that John Landis, Rick Baker combination that worked very well in American Werewolf in London. I don't know if you saw that one. So that's a frightening movie.
Still scary. The transformation sequences in that movie are so good.
Yeah, to this day it holds up, and it's all practical. Well. It's all practical effects. There's no CGI back then.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of those practical effects techniques, and they hold up a little better than
the CGI. Yeah,
I mean, because if you watch like an early CGI, in 1992, we thought that was like amazing and cutting edge, but you could tell it wasn't real,
Yeah,
if you go back and watch that same thing today, you're like, nice.
I think the best case for that argument is Terminator 2.
Mm-hmm.
You watch it now and you're like, oh, like that's all they had.
Right, but we were so impressed though with that melting, like
the
metal,
morphing.
Yeah, and like morphing and like coming up from a puddle on the ground. Yeah, we were impressed with that.
Yeah. You know what still holds up kind of is Jurassic Park, the original. Kind of the CGI still holds up in that very well.
Yeah.
Not perfect, but it's pretty good.
It was kind of used sparingly and alongside practical effects. I think that can work pretty well.
Yeah, and you had Steven Spielberg, one of the greatest directors of his generation, directing it, so he knew how to use it right.
Right. Yeah. But
go ahead.
So anyway, so we've already gone on our first tangent for today.
Exactly. So they're walking
on the
through
boardwalk, and the dad's tipsy and the mom's irritated, and they're like, and it just feels so ominous because you can see the daughter is like walking ahead of them or she's walking behind them, and they're not really paying attention to her. They're not like very focused on keeping
Oh
an
yeah.
eye on her. So you know that something's gonna happen. And they show the creepy guy with the Jeremiah 11:11 sign, and he's
Yeah,
like
and
holding that up. Yeah.
I have the verse right here. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, behold, I will bring evil upon them, which they shall not be able to escape. And though they shall cry unto me, I will not hearken unto them. That's that's brutal. That's a brutal passage.
That's pretty scary in itself. Like,
Yeah.
the first horror novel, the Bible. Yeah, that's pretty scary in itself. But you do think, like, when they show this guy and they show her walk past this guy, you're like, oh, this guy's gonna kidnap her. But that's not what happens.
Hmm.
Like,
No, yeah. She walks right past, walks down the steps to the beach. And I've been to Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk right now. Everything's good so far, except for comes into a Hall of Mirrors. Do you remember what it was called? The Hall of Mirrors? It was a Native American name, right?
Oh gosh, I can't remember what it is.
Did you write that in your notes? I forgot.
Yeah, I don't think I wrote. I know that it changes to Merlin's Forest, but I can't remember what it is.
Okay, no, that's fine.
At the start.
Yeah, I remember you pointing that out, and so then I noticed it the next time I watched it. But there is no Hall of Mirrors in on Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, and there are no attractions on the beach. So her walking down, and I was like, oh, bullshit. I call bullshit. I shall call shenanigans. They added that just for the movie. But yeah, for those of you out in Santa Clara or Santa Cruz, know that what I'm talking about. Everything else was proper though. All the games and everything, and the rides, the Big Dipper, which is the large wooden roller coaster, which is a fabulous ride in itself. But yeah, so that's not accurate, but it was advice for the movie, so I'm not gonna nitpick too much about it. But I just thought I'd point it out.
Yeah, I think that that shot where she's going down the stairs onto the beach and it's like the pitch black staircase. I really liked that shot in the movie. It was just so foreboding. And then she stumbles into the Hall of Mirrors and, you're like, well, things are about to just get way worse. But, you're not prepared for the fact that she's going to see what is a reflection of herself, but not, because it's like a different shirt and, it's her, but it's not her. So,
right, because she turns around and the reflection doesn't turn until after she sees the back of her own head, then turns around, and then it just stops. Right, it just next scene. We don't even know what happens. It was just like a
and that's when she was whistling in this, right?
Yeah, the Itsy Bitsy Spider song.
Yeah, she's whistling. Like, okay, what little kid can whistle that well?
Yeah. Well, yeah. The whistle back was the one that was a whistle was a good one, because when she was whistling, I had no idea it was Itsy Bitsy Spider. The only reason I knew that was because of the captions underneath.
Oh yeah, because it does pop that up. It says whistling Itsy Bitsy Spider.
Yeah, I'm like, are you serious? Are we thinking of the same song here? But real quick, rewind just a few seconds. She has that candied apple that she does not touch, and then she just drops it in the sand.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of annoying. She's like this perfect. I wonder how many perfect candy apples they wasted dropping them in the sand to get that shot right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's
probably
true.
A lot.
Maybe it wasn't a real candy apple. It was a prop apple.
Yeah, it could be just like a plastic prop, but yeah, she just drops it. She doesn't eat it at all.
Yeah, that kind
which is I would definitely be eating it, but are you
a candy apple fan or a caramel apple fan? Or both?
I prefer like candy apples.
Why is that? Because I prefer caramel apples.
I think because we used to get them like when we would go to the fair, to the Oklahoma State Fair, like, and that was always like a big treat to get, and you couldn't find them outside of like the fair. So
true. Yeah.
But my mom would make caramel apples with us, like every fall. So we had it more often. But candy apples, since we only went to the fair like once every couple years.
Right. Yeah.
So that was like a big treat. So I think it's just a nostalgia thing. I haven't had one in years, and maybe if I had one, I would be like, this is not as good as I remember. But yeah, I feel like
I think the fact, because when you buy them, sometimes they kind of crack in the
Mhm.
shards, and I didn't like that. And sometimes you buy one and it's like got a cinnamon to it, and I didn't like that. I like just a regular candy, but with caramel apples, you know what you get every single time, and
Yeah.
it's soft and it's easier to eat. That's why I like them better. That's the only reason. So we fast forward in the movie, as far as timeline wise, to a scene. It's already been like what, like maybe a few months now, and the parents have taken the young girl, who we know now is Addie, short for Adelaide,
Mhm.
and they're at a therapist's office, and we find out she can't talk. She has PTSD. It's funny. The dad goes, "How could she have PTSD? She didn't go to Nam."
Right. Yeah.
Because
Well, and that seems like it was pretty progressive that she was going to therapy anyway, because
hmm
I feel like there wasn't a lot of child therapy, but maybe there was, because like there are a lot of child therapy scenes in horror movies, like The
yeah.
Exorcist and all.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I didn't realize that child therapy was that common then, or I don't think it was. And then the understanding of PTSD that we had then was like, not, this isn't for kids, this is for soldiers coming back from war, or
Right.
things
I
like
remember
that.
seeing. I don't know if you ever watched that movie Patton, but they didn't even call it PTSD. They call it shell shocked.
Shell shock, yeah.
Yeah, and Patton was very. He was unmoving by shell shocked soldiers, and it was very like. I don't know. You look back then, you cringe now, but back then that's just the way they handled it. It's like, hey, stop being a pussy and get back on the front line.
Yeah, yeah. So it was kind of, yeah, it was kind of unexpected to see that scene where,
hmm
they have the daughter in therapy, and it's like she just no longer talks.
Yeah. Yeah, she's done. And but the therapist said, "Hey, I think she gave very good advice. Keep her dancing, keep her, into artistic stuff like that." And I want to fast forward to a scene when the family finally gets to the mom's house, or the grandmother's house, I guess, or the Addie's mom's house, and there's that picture, the painting of, it looks like a mom and her child, and they're doing
Oh,
the
yeah.
flexing.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking that's Addie painted that of her and her mom, and it's not um, Addie's kid and herself. It's actually Addie and her mom.
Oh, yeah, that could be.
Yeah, so I
That's
think
a
that's
smart catch there. Smart catch.
I mean, it could be either. I mean, it's a really well done painting, and it could just be a mom and a kid, but we can't tell who's the mom and who's the kid.
Right.
And so let's see, and then that's when we fast forward to the scene in the car, right, where the family's driving. You got the dad, the mom, and the two kids
Oh,
driving
yeah.
through the
And I
woods.
I love this scene because the dad is like, he's such a dad.
Gabriel, I think. Gabe,
Yeah.
that's the name of the
Yeah,
dad.
he's always making the little dad jokes, and um he's always making the little dad jokes. And I think the daughter asks something about like the internet, and he's like,
hmm
why, you don't need the internet, we have the whole outernet, like
It's
pointing to
so
the
great.
outdoors. And
I love
but you
that. I
just know
love
that
that line.
something
That's a
horrible
great
is going
line.
to happen to this like adorable family, because they're just too cute. This family is just too
Oh,
cute.
oh yeah, when they're driving through and I Got Five on It comes on, and the parents are
Hmm.
grooving because it's taken back to when they're kids, and then they're like, "Is this about weed?" It's not about weed, but it's dope. I thought that was a great line
That was a
too.
great one.
So yeah, the kids are Zora and Jason, and I think I pointed out to you last time. I wonder if they named her Zora to show from like A to Z, Addie to Zora A Z. I don't know. That's just my own machinations, but.
That makes sense. It does make sense.
And they drive to the house, and then there's some talk about it was the mom's house, and it seemed like maybe the mom passed away recently. And also, I don't know if it was during this scene in the house or maybe later on. It just seemed like the mom, Addie's mom and dad had split up years prior, and this is where Addie's mom lived before she died, and she gave the house to the family.
Yeah, that seems to make sense. That tracks in line with like what we know about the family and in the movie. So
Yeah, and then there's mention that they're gonna go meet a family on the beach and have some fun. And Addie's like, "No, I don't want to go to the beach." And I don't know if she doesn't want to go to the beach because she just does not like the family, or if I know the daughter doesn't care for the other family's twin daughters.
because they're terrible. So she
Yeah.
is right to not care for them because they are terrible.
Well, the mom of the other family, played by Elizabeth Moss, isn't that great either.
Yeah. Well, and I think there is a scene where Addie says like to Elizabeth Moss's character, she says like she's not used to just like sitting and talking. She's not used to
Hmm.
sitting and chatting with people and like making small talk. Like she's not good at it.
Yeah.
And like it makes her uncomfortable to just sit and talk. And you know, of course, like that's very foreshadowing for the end, you know, when we find out what happens. But
Yeah.
yeah,
But
but
Dean,
she's uncomfortable with them and she's also uncomfortable at the beach.
because of what happened, she could just turn around and see the source of her PTSD right behind her
Yeah.
with the Hall of Mirrors. But it seemed like maybe like it was the two dads who were friends, right? Or maybe coworkers.
Yeah.
I think that's where the friendship of the family started. I don't know. They never really delve into that.
They don't delve into that, but you get the feeling there's a dynamic between the two dads where it's like Gabriel's doing a keeping up with the Joneses kind of a thing where, you know,
Right.
he wants to get the boat and he's impressed with Josh's generate. It's Josh, right? The
Yeah, I
dad,
believe so.
the other father. I think it's Josh. Like he's impressed with the generator that they have, and you know they're clearly a little more wealthy, well-off family, and he's kind of
Well, maybe I think maybe it's like they have older money than Gabe and Addie do, because they
yeah,
have money
which makes
too. It's
sense.
just,
Yeah,
yeah, it's just a little bit older. Um, yeah, so they're on the beach, and somehow they just lose track of the son Jason, and he goes wandering off to the doesn't he go wandering off to the Hall of Mirrors? Does he go inside? I forget, but I know he sees.
he
Yeah.
when he tells his sister he's gonna go to the porta potties, and instead of
Hmm.
going to the porta potties, you see him walk by that same guy, right? The
Jeremiah 11:11 guy.
yeah, you see that same guy again, and that the Hall of Mirrors is changed to Merlin's Forest, and
Right.
right, yeah, at that point, um,
Well, they had seen on the way to the beach, they had seen a car accident, and it was that Jeremiah 11:11 guy getting put into the back of an ambulance.
yeah,
And then he sees him on the beach, the back of him, and his hands are dripping blood.
yeah. So you know, like you know, something's up with that because you saw this guy getting put in the back of an ambulance,
Hmm.
but here he is. I don't remember. I don't think he goes into the Hall of Mirrors. I
Yeah,
think
I don't
he's
think so
about
either.
to go into it, and you know, Addie runs up and you know,
Yeah, realizes that Jason's missing, so she's running around frantic. Of course, any mom would run around frantic if she couldn't see any one of her kids at in a public place. So
yeah,
finally catches up, and
yeah. And I want to point out like a couple of little small details.
yeah.
Um, During the scene where the two moms are talking, right before you see that the Hall of Mirrors is changed to Merlin's Forest, um, Elizabeth Moss's character is looking at a fashion magazine,
Hmm.
and she turns it around and you see that it's a woman in a Native American headdress.
Oh, I
And
didn't I
then
didn't
they go
realize that.
over her shoulder and you see it's no longer that. So it's kind of this parallel, I think, to
Hmm.
what the Hall of Mirrors used to look like instead of what it is now.
Oh, good point.
And yeah, so and then there's the Jeremiah 11:11 dude, and when Addie's alarm clock goes off, or when she looks at the clock, and it's one of those old digital alarm clock
Right.
basis, it's the time is 11:11, and so that's when she wakes up after this scene. So
Yeah, I think,
like,
well, she's putting Jason to bed, and then you see that they show that the clock is at 11:11.
yeah, that's it. She's putting Jason to bed. She's not going to bed. She's putting him to
Right.
bed. And
But they're all going to bed around the same time, and they go to bed. I love the part where Gabe is laying on the bed, and it's like, what kind of fucking small ass bed is this? Yeah, he's all like ready for magic. What do you call it? Magic time?
and he's a tall dude, and
He's a
is
big
like,
guy, not just tall. He's an athlete, or a football player size.
Yeah, this is like a full size bed, maybe. It's like not a queen for sure. It's not even a queen, but
the super twin.
Maybe, yeah, it's like one of those college dorm beds that's slightly larger than a twin size.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think you're gonna do in this little tiny bed? But yeah, he's laying there, and then she's trying to explain that she doesn't feel like herself, and she tells Gabe about what happened during her childhood.
For the first time, which is, do you find that surprising, or is that something that you would kind of deem as like that makes sense because it's something you don't want to relive, and you never thought you'd have to bring it up for any reason, or do you think it was maybe a plot hole?
I mean, I kind of think it was something that she, like a trauma that she pushed down, and she just never wanted to discuss it, where she was like, I'm just going to move on with my life, and I'm not going to think about this, but it's in the back of my head all of the time. And like, since then, what does she say? She said, it feels like this little girl is still coming for her and won't stop coming for her.
Oh, yeah.
Used to be, or something like that. And I think that's just like how much she's sort of just pushed that fear away and pushed that trauma away. And she's like, no, I have a good life. I just want to live my normal life, and I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh, well, okay, well, why don't we just leave tomorrow then? He kind of dismisses it. Like, she wants to pack everybody up and leave, like, right then.
Yeah. Well, we don't know where they actually came from. So they had a long drive in that morning, and then they go to the beach, which it's an exhausting experience going to the beach because you have the sun and you're just exposed. You get exposure tiredness or exhaustion, whatever you want to call it. And you get home and you're just like, just let me sleep first. Otherwise we're going to drive and I might fall asleep behind the wheel. So I get why he said.
I mean, it seems like that's the response most people would have, to be like, you know what, you're just tired. Everything's going to be fine. Like, this isn't a severe crisis. Let's just go to bed and see how we feel tomorrow. And if you're still upset, then we'll pack up and go tomorrow. And it seems like that's a reasonable thing to say.
It's a compromise, right?
Yeah. It's like, that's perfectly reasonable. I don't know if my spouse came to me and was like, hey, we need to go right now. And I'm terrible when I'm tired.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, oh, yeah, me too. Like, I'm grumpy, I'm moody, and yeah, exactly.
I would probably have been like kind of shitty about it and been like, we're not getting in the car. Absolutely not. Let's go the fuck to sleep. Here's some Unisom. Here's
melatonin.
Good night. Yeah.
here's some indica.
Yeah.
This will hit you just right.
Yeah. Just be fine. Just go right to sleep.
But this is when the fun starts. Well, the fun as far as
right. Yeah. This is
pleasure.
When it gets crazy, because this is when you have that scene of and they're still like arguing back and forth. The parents are, and does the daughter get up? I can't remember. Was she already up or?
No, remember she's put the phone away, and then she says, right. Okay, she turns it off, but then throws the cover over her head and starts getting back on her phone.
She's back on her phone. And then the son comes out, and Jason comes out, and he's like, there's a family in our driveway. And at that point in the movie, and then they show them in the driveway, I was just like, nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
That might be the best shot of the movie as far as like encapsulate what the movie's about.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
But and their response to this is like, it's reasonable. Again, the way that they respond to this
Mm-hmm.
is I feel like it's relatable. I feel like it's how most people would respond. Like, you know, the mom is immediately like, she's gonna call 911, and the police say they're like something like 16 minutes away, or it'll take them 16 minutes to get there, or something like that.
Well, they're out in the middle of the woods, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and we're not to the point yet where it's like a crisis with a bunch of other people, so we don't know yet what is happening with anyone else. We only know what's happening with this family, right?
Right.
So the dad is like, he's like, you're overreacting. I'm just going to go out and talk to these people. And he's a big dude, right? He's probably used to people. Like, if he's going to be like, you can't be here, you know, he's probably the kind of guy that you would be like, you know what, you're right, I'm going to back off. Like, I'm not going to deal with this. But that's not what happens.
No, yeah, that's not. Well, yeah, and he's very like, you know, polite at first. You know, hey, you know, I have to ask you to leave, or we'll call the cops. You know, he's doing everything right. You know, he gives them a warning. They're not, you know, they're not leaving. So then he starts getting like a little macho. He puffs up his chest. You know, deepens his voice. You could tell he deepens his voice. And
dog out really quick. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, it's fine. He deepens his voice, and like he's not gonna be intimidated by these people who aren't moving. And yeah, that's when they start coming after him. And he's like, oh, okay, I'm going back in the house.
Yeah.
Gets back in the house and locks it. And then they get the hide a key.
They get the hide a key. And I love what he says there. It's something like, what in a hide a key? What in the white people?
Yeah.
Like, that is so true though, because like, we used to hang out in high school at like one of my best friends' houses, and they had a hide a key. It was the exact same hide a key. It's like, looks like a rock, like a fake rock, and you pick it up and there's a little thing you open and there's a key in there. And probably everyone we went to high school with knew that was there and could get into their house at any time. And, you know, nobody ever like broke in or anything. Nothing bad ever happened from this, but it's like,
yeah, you're
not
inviting
see that
stuff.
in like, not in the like white suburbs really, where people are trusting. You know, it's the kind of place where people still leave their doors unlocked or whatever. So
I remember our parents had a hide a key only because my brother and I, like, about 12, 13 years old. They trusted us to go home and be by ourselves until they got home from work. And we had our own key, but just in case we lost it or we forgot it or something, there was a spare backup. But I think that lasted for like a year or two. Then they realized they didn't need to put it out there, so they removed it. So, but yeah, I think it was a rock too, and it was behind some plants too, so they totally double hit it.
Right. Yeah, we had a neighbor who had a spare key. So if we were ever locked out, we had to hope that the neighbor was home
right.
to go get the key. So, that probably kept me out of trouble, like not wanting to go talk to the neighbor probably kept me from like sneaking out or other things that I probably would have done if I had just had a hide a key.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. If there was a hide a key, you could just go out and come back, and your parents still wake up. And why is Amanda sleeping until 1 o'clock every afternoon?
Right. Like, who knows? Yeah, so, you know, but they made the right moves. Like, they did everything that you think you're supposed to do in like a situation like this. You know, you call 911, you warn them to move off. The dad gets out the baseball bat. They take the baseball bat.
Yeah, that was a pretty funny scene too, because they just like, yoink, that's mine.
Yeah, it was so quick, you know, like, got it.
And then smash them over the knee, and they get in and they confront, and then they tell them exactly the whole reason why they're there, right?
Yeah.
Addie's doppelganger, who's called Red in the movie, introduces him to Pluto, and what was the name of the daughter? Because Pluto was Jason's doppelganger, and the daughter's doppelganger, I forgot her name. I'm trying to look it up right now.
It was Pluto and... I'm like, I feel like I wrote this down, but I have so many useless notes in the way.
Oh, Umbre.
Umbre, yeah.
Which is like the Latin version of shadow.
Yeah. And that's also like that's a really good like name, like play on that. That's really good. But man, the child actors in this movie, the young actors, they're really, really good.
Yeah.
To be able to
agree.
play the doppelganger and play the doppelganger so scary, and then play the, normal child that is having like normal child reactions to all of this stuff is like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I thought Lupita Nyong'o, she should have been nominated for Best Actress because her acting in this is just, it's a next level. It's above and beyond.
She knocks it out of the park. Now I'm letting the dog back in.
All right, no problem.
This is the only thing I have to do today, I guess. Come on.
And Abraham was really good though. Abraham was Gabe's doppelganger, and let's not, he was no slouch either. The actor, what's the name? Winston Davis or something like that? Winston Duke. Winston Duke is the actor's name. But yeah, they were really good. That's about the time when Pluto and Jason go off to play, and
and we saw in a scene previously that the door to this closet sticks.
Right. Yeah.
Because his sister like kind of locks him in there in retaliation for other things that he was doing.
Yeah.
And he has, what is it, like an old Chewbacca mask that Jason has?
Yeah, he wears it like as like an escape from reality, right? Because he's got his own mental issues too. Let's not forget that Abraham, Gabe's doppelganger, just grabs him and just fucking pulls him, just drags him out of the house. Yeah. He's like, yeah, you're coming with me. Like, you see this big, huge, imposing guy, and he's just being treated like a ragdoll.
Yeah.
That's fucking scary as hell.
Yeah, for real. So like they come in the house and they sit down and she kind of explains the whole thing, how the tethered work, right? They call them the tethered.
Yeah.
And they talk about the rabbits, which you saw in the opening credits. You're like,
yeah.
For these
and
rabbits.
The tunnels that they explain in the beginning, that there's millions of, or miles of tunnels underneath the U.S.
Yeah, and basically the government had a secret project where they were creating doppelgangers for people
to try to control them.
To try to control their actions and control their behaviors. But it didn't work out. They abandoned it, and they just abandoned all the doppelganger people in these tunnels. And the only food source they have is rabbits.
Right.
Right.
And so, well, is that why the Jeremiah 11:11 guy came out, because his doppelganger or his counterpoint in the upper world died, so he was able to come out and just stand on the beach?
That's really unclear, but I kind of think like they never show it, but in my mind, it was like, well, he somehow, like, he pushed him in front of the car, or...
Oh, he was the first one to
That's what I thought, was like, he was the first one to commit an actual murder. But that was just kind of left really unclear. But that was my thought, was that he was the first one that actually... Did you see the blood dripping off his hands? And
yeah, that makes sense.
Did he stab him and then, like, shove him in front of the car? And so it looked like an accident and nobody noticed, because people aren't going to notice a crazy guy
people try
that's
to ignore
on the boardwalk walking out in front of a car.
Like Lydia said in Beetlejuice, people tend to ignore the unusual.
Yeah. I myself am strange and unusual.
So yeah, maybe that's how he got away with it, because no one's gonna really. Some people try to, or actually just ignore homeless people just so they don't have to deal with it. They don't have to, out of sight, out of mind type of deal.
Right, and I think that people on their holiday coming to the beach are definitely gonna like try to just ignore that and move on with their vacation. So
right.
Yeah, but the concept to me of the tethered and these people that are like just a shadow of another person, and they really have no free will, and they just have to do whatever the other person is doing. And like, that's so scary to me. Like, how would it be to be like trapped in that situation? And you see when she's explaining it, they show the scene of the girl feeding her boyfriend French fries, on the boardwalk. And
Yeah, during Addie's youth, when in the opening scene.
yeah, and you see like, but their shadows, they're tethered, or like ripping apart raw rabbit and feeding it to each
So
other. And it's
gross.
like, it's so scary. That is really scary.
And those actors in the middle of the hallway pretending like they're on the Big Dipper or the Giant Dipper, excuse
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like they cram into this little hallway and they're all, acting like they're on the roller coaster, and so it's crazy.
Yeah, or all the other rides that are going on, and then yeah, it's what a life to live. And you have no free will. You're doing whatever your counterpoint on the top side is doing.
Yeah. So, you don't know what's really going to happen, and Addie's locked. She's locked up now, right? She's in handcuffs.
Right. She gets handcuffed to the end table or the coffee table, right? And she tells Zora just to run because she's track star.
She's a track star, so she just says run. She immediately takes off running, and her
Jason
counterpart,
Umbre,
goes after her, but does that like classic slasher movie psycho move of like not running. She's like, well, you know what? I'm going to fast walk after you, and I'm still going to catch up. But her face is just so creepy. She's like,
and determined, like.
Yeah, she does that like head tilt down and eyes up, and it's, yeah.
Very reminiscent. Speaking of Terminator 2, very reminiscent of the T-1000, Robert Patrick's character.
Yeah, yeah.
Head down, eyes up, just like straight ahead. You're not going to stop me. Unstoppable force.
Right, yeah, and it's very effective. It's very effective. It works very well.
Yes, it does.
So, yeah, but then you see the boys. It's like Red says, "Go play, boys, and try not to burn the house down."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which makes me think, because we see in the closet, he takes Jason realizes that Pluto's going to mimic his moves, so he pulls the mask up, and so Pluto pulls his mask off, and we see he's all burnt, and so then I was thinking, oh, maybe that's why when they were first, and the family was first in the house, and Jason had that little, it looked like a lighter, and he kept sparking it, but it wouldn't spark. And the sister said that only worked once, like last year or something like that. And I'm wondering if that's how Pluto burned himself, because the one time it worked, he burned himself on accident.
The one time it worked, he got burned and is like horribly scarred now.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is, that's what happened. And that's pretty messed up, like this.
Yeah.
This kid, through no fault of his own, had to endure this because of the actions of, the person that he's tethered to.
And speaking of which, Addie's a doppelganger, Red, mentioned that she had to go through childbirth with no fucking medication, or not even. Now I know women do natural childbirth, so it's nothing uncommon. But a lot of women still, get the epidural, and you still, go get the medication. So when you don't have a choice, it's like, fuck. It seems like it's even worse.
Right, and then the environment that they were in is like, where did she give birth? On the floor of a cold hallway, like
unsterilized,
unsterilized in a cold hallway, and that's all, like, and all they had were these scissors.
Oh, that's right, the gold. Everyone's got gold scissors, right? That's like their weapon of choice.
Yeah, everybody's got these antique looking, like, massive shears.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we ever figured out exactly where those came from or why they were in the tunnels, but somehow there were rabbits and shears in these.
Maybe the shears were to cut the rabbits up so they can eat.
Yeah, and that could be what that was for. It's like, well, they gave them scissors, but not knives. But the scissors are somehow scarier than if they had, like, everybody had a butcher knife.
Yeah, that's true. Scissors are scary. I guess I don't know why. It really is.
Yeah. So, so the boys in the closet, and then that's how you figure out that the tethered still kind of, some of them still have to kind of mimic the actions of the kid that they're tethered to, or the person that they're tethered to. So, he manages to get away, but then, like, the poor dad run out to the boat. Or wait, the girls' scene was before that, wasn't it?
The girl, in the middle of the road, Zora's running, and then they get to the car, and then they do the whole. It's like a trope in horror movies where like they're both on the other side of an object, and then the killer ducks down, and then the hero or heroine in this case, looks and like doesn't see the killer anymore, and she's on top of the car, and then she starts running. And the funny part is the guy comes out, the owner of the car is like, "Hey, what the fuck?"
Yeah, like, what the fuck are you doing? Which again is like something that would happen in reality. Like that brings it back to reality where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, this is actually how people would behave. It's like, the fuck are you climbing around in my car?
Yeah. Get down. He's like, get over here. Like, he's like mad. He's like, get over here. Like inviting Umbre to kill him. But he doesn't. He has no idea though.
Because he has no idea that this little girl is actually like gonna, she's
homicidal,
a bloodthirsty homicidal maniac. So.
And then he gets it with the scissors. He gets the scissors right to the abdomen. And so Zora runs back. And then this one, Gabe and Abraham have their battle on the boat on his little dinghy. We didn't even talk about that in the beginning when he was the crawdaddy, when he was going circles in the lake.
And he's just doing donuts. He's just riding this little tiny boat, like.
And he's all happy and proud, and the family's like, "Are you serious? He expects us to get on that? It's barely even big enough for him."
Yeah, but he's super happy that he got his boat, and he's very proud of it. But yeah, he gets beaten up and thrown into a bag, and he's in a bag on the back of the boat, and he's like trying to, tear his way out, like. Which is so nerve-wracking because how do you tear your way out of a garbage bag, like, quietly?
Yeah, it crinkles all the time. Anytime you move, it's going to crinkle.
Yeah, but luckily, like, the boat motor, kind of...
sputters out, like he already knows, and then he gets the upper hand. Abraham tries to get back on the boat, and that's when he starts the motor again, and it pretty much just, the propeller cuts him up.
Yeah.
So that's how he gets Abraham, and then he gets back to the house. This is about the time when Addie's like getting crushed by Red, right? Getting her face crushed by Red.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget what happens. How do they get away from that?
Oh my God, I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I might have to cut this part out.
Let me think here. So the boys are in the closet.
Yeah.
Is that what happens? She gets distracted by the boys, and then Josh, and then Gabe comes in.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right.
I think that's what happens. I think like she gets Red gets distracted by the boys.
By Jason. Yeah,
because Jason locks Pluto in the closet, and he's like, freaking out in the closet, and he's making these like horrible kind of.
Because he doesn't talk, he's just making guttural sounds. Yeah.
So he's kind of making these horrible sounds and like banging on the doors or whatever, right? And then that's when Gabe comes in and saves the family, and they're all like, they got to decide where they're gonna go.
Right.
And of course, where are they gonna go? Well, let's go to Josh's. He has a generator. Like.
Yeah.
It's that like they don't know that this is happening to everyone yet.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and they do soon, but they get to the house, and that's when we see. Well, I think they showed us Josh and what's her name, Kitty, and they got problems of their own. They're always making those backhanded compliments / insults to each other about drinking and all that stuff, and
they're very unkind to each other, and it's no wonder their daughters are so catty and unhappy.
Right.
Like their parents are very much the same way with each other. So
it seems like they're together just because they have kids and they don't want to break up or something. I don't know. It's not a good dynamic. It doesn't. Yeah. It's not like Gabe and Addie's family where they're all loving and joking and everything and totally.
Yeah. And I think there's kind of a juxtaposition there is like, the family that has less stuff but is actually happier, and then the family that has like this giant glass, like literally glass house. Like their house is just all fucking windows. Like who lives their life that way? But okay, like their house is like all windows, but they're still deeply unhappy.
Yeah, but that was like one of the more chilling scenes when we were in the last name's Tyler, when we were in the Tyler house, and the girls come out and start talking to their parents, and then their doppelgangers just come out of nowhere and stabs them in the fucking head. Yeah. That was I was like, oh shit, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, so so then the family gets there to the friend's house, and I don't know how they didn't immediately realize this was not Josh.
Yeah, because we knew because he was wearing red with the bathrobe over. He had that red smock underneath.
Yeah, and his hair was all messed up. He was also a lot thinner. He was like, like the doppelganger was a lot thinner and
emaciated because all they eat is rabbit and that's it, and they don't get any exercise or even see like the sun, so they're all like paler and.
But
he had the facial hair.
He was clearly wearing like the red jumpsuit, and but for whatever reason they overlook all of those things, and they go into the house.
Right, they go into the house, and then they realize quickly that these are also enemies, so they dispatch them. I thought that was a great. So talking about juxtaposition. First off, when the Tyler family gets killed, they're playing Good Vibrations in the background.
That's right. That makes that scene so creepy. Is that playing the Beach Boys?
The Beach Boys. They're on Santa Cruz. They're in Santa Cruz. Yeah. They're playing a boy song, and it's a very lighthearted love song.
But then she tries to use their Alexa, which is not an Alexa. I don't know.
Ophelia, they call. Yeah.
There's probably a reference there that I'm gonna have to like look up and sort out. Ophelia, what
the only Ophelia I remember is from Hamlet, right? Hamlet's mom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway, so you're saying?
Yeah, but it's so funny because when she tries to call 911, she's like, "Call the police," and it starts playing.
Fuck the police.
It starts playing "Fuck the Police"
by NWA. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna. I thought they were gonna play what do you call the Every Breath You Take or something like that. I thought that would have been funny too.
Yeah, it was like play the police.
Yeah.
But it's like playing "Fuck the Police." It's just like that's something that would probably happen to me in real life too. Like, you have to be very specific with any type of virtual assistant, or you don't know what you're gonna get. So.
Oh yeah, just this weekend I was asking Siri to play stuff. I'm like, you know what? I'm just because obviously you don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so it'll just be faster if I do it myself.
But it was an effective. I loved it because I'm a hip hop guy. I grew up on hip hop. That was like my first love of genre. It's not my first music I was introduced to because my parents used to introduce me and my brother to like James Brown and Motown and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But when I finally found like a genre that I loved, I remember it was rap. It was like Walk This Way by Run DMC. I'm like, what kind of music is this? I love this. And so like Fuck the Police also played, NWA played a special part of my childhood because it was the first time I ever successfully logically argued my mom to let me listen to that type of music. Because I had a tape. I made a tape, a copy, a dub of my friend's cassette. He had the original, and I just took a Maxell or whatever and made a copy. And she found it, and she's like, "You can't listen to this." And I said, "Look, my brother and I, we don't do this type of stuff. We like for the music, and that's the only reason we like to listen to this because of the music." And she's like, "Okay, I'll give it back to you." I'm kind of paraphrasing my argument, and I was like 12 years old or something like that. And the fact that it worked, I'm like, oh my God. Years later, my mom told me she realized that when I was making that argument, because she used to love the Rolling Stones, and her parents, my grandparents, didn't like the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
And didn't get it, the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That wasn't anything my mom ever was into or did, but she liked music. And so unbeknownst to me, I used her own youthful logic to my advantage.
You used her own logic against her.
Yeah.
To validate that.
Yeah, and so just to have that song in this movie was fucking great. It was awesome. It was and but that scene is great because Zora actually comes into her own in that, where she like she takes out the mom and she takes out one of the kids.
Yeah, she does. And wow, she is tough because 15-year-old me could not have done that. No way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it didn't. It took her like at least a couple interactions before she got the gumption or the ambition to actually do it and follow through with it. But when she did, she was fucking badass.
Yeah, yeah, that was really, really amazing. And then, so they're talking about whether or not. So after this has happened and like the
They
whole family
they killed the
is
Tyler.
dead.
Yeah, the
They killed
doppelgangers.
the
Yeah.
Tyler's doppelgangers are all dead. Um, they're talking and they're sitting there talking about what they should do next, and then
They
but they
call the
turn on the
police.
TV and
Don't
they
they
try
call
to,
the police?
yeah,
And they said all circuits are busy. And like, how the fuck all circuits are busy? They don't get it.
yeah, like dispatch is all busy, and then they turn on the TV and they find out like, oh, like something real bad's going on, and they're watching the news report. And while they're watching the news report, like the guy doing the news, his doppelganger comes out and attacks him.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's like everybody, it's chaos. It's absolute chaos. But they kind of realize, like, well, okay, so this is happening everywhere. And then they kind of have to have this moment of, well, what are we going to do now? And the dad wants to stay. He's like, I want to stay here. It makes sense to stay here. We have everything we need. We can just hide out in this giant glass house. And they're like sitting around. Their dead friend's body is like in the middle.
Right. Yeah.
Of the coffee table, and they're all sitting around. And I think
the mom doesn't want to. I think the mom doesn't want to stay because she realizes that's kind of like where the epicenter is, and she wants to get out.
Yeah, and I think that, yeah, she realizes that's where the epicenter is, and I think that she still has that feeling that Red is coming for her, and that feeling that she mentioned when she was wanting to leave at the beginning. She's like, she still has that feeling that she needs to run, that she needs to get away.
Right.
Yeah, and I think there's, at that point, the dad says something about making booby traps, but the kids have never seen Home Alone. So they have no idea. They're like, what is Home Alone? Like.
But yeah, because the mom's like, didn't Addie like, you want to do some dumbass Home Alone type shit or something? I forgot exactly. Yeah. She's the one who pointed it out.
Yeah, and the kids are like,
and this is just
Home Alone? Like, they don't even know.
This is just like Jordan Peele's like sense of humor. Like there's some humor in his writing, and he knows when to add it and not be like a setup punchline, like just like an added joke in the movie. It's kind of like natural. He lets it evolve naturally.
Yeah, it's very natural, and I love that moment. So there are some like good light-hearted moments in this movie, even though it's very, very dark and scary. Right. There are some like good.
I don't think Jordan Peele can help himself though. I think that's just him.
Yeah, I think so, but I think it works very well. Yeah, I think his style is different from just about anybody I can think of, but I think he does very well.
You're right.
So, they're gonna decide to leave, and they're gonna get back in the car and
drive down to Mexico, right, or something like that. That was their idea.
Yeah, which
makes sense.
But I'm not sure why Mexico.
Because there was no underground tunnels, any government like conspiracy to create doppelgangers. Okay,
yeah, that makes sense.
I got it the second time I watched it. I'm like, oh, that's why they want to go down there, because there's no tunnels, there's no doppelgangers. It's just
this was
quote,
the United States government's problem, and they're gonna fix it, or they're gonna escape it. And you think that everything is going to kind of look better in the daylight of this movie because, like you said, like it utilizes the dark and the nighttime shots are so good. And, but it turns out that everything just kind of looks worse.
Yeah. And I compared that to
everywhere.
when I used to go to raves and like everything was fun and almost like it was like a carnival and fun like in the night, but when the day came, it was like I was partying with these fucking people.
Right. You're like, never mind. Feels bad. Going home.
Yeah, I'm going home. Like I used to hate the day. Like I didn't go to a lot of, I mean, maybe went to a handful of raves, but I remember it was about the second or third one I realized I'm like, man, we got to get out of here before the sun comes up because everything sucks in the light.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything
Like,
bad that happened at night looks worse in the daylight.
oh yeah. Yeah. It definitely looks, especially in the case of this movie, it definitely looks worse.
Right, because they're driving
And
through Santa Cruz and everything. There's just death and destruction and mayhem all over the place. They see like a line of people dressed in red, which, I mean, we're not spoiling anything because, I mean, people who listen to this have already seen it, hopefully. But we see a line of people across. Now there is a train track in front of the Santa Cruz boardwalk because they do have like an old timey train that takes people for rides, like a full size fucking train. So there is a train track. So they see these people along the or across the train track going from into like the buildings. That's an actual that actually exists. I just thought it was like kind of like they're setting up a line so they can't get by, but really we find out later they're doing Hands Across America, and
yeah.
that's where it starts.
Yeah. Which they never explain why. It's never explained like why or what happens after the movie, but
Hmm.
they're doing Hands Across America, and so they've had the little argument about who should drive, and
Oh, yeah. Before they get to the town, yeah, they have the argument about who should drive, and Zora gets the nod. She
yeah,
fucking
because
fucking
Addie's still handcuffed and the dad is severely injured, or Gabe is severely injured.
yeah.
So, she finally gets to drive, which is something she's wanted to do the entire movie, and she
Hmm.
ends up running over Umbre.
Right.
And
There's a little fight, and then she does the whole break thing where Umbre goes flying off, and then she gets impaled by a branch.
yeah, yeah, which was
For
that was a pretty good scene. That was a pretty scary death scene.
And that's a pretty good horror movie trope. The person on top of the car trying to kill you from on top of the
Trying to
car.
kill you. Yeah. So she's dead. They're driving through town, and they see Pluto right in front of the car.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and right in front. Because their own car is on fire because they're in the Tyler's car,
Yeah.
and their own car is on fire. And that's when Jason realizes this is his moment to shine. And he steps out of the car and he starts backing up, walking backwards, and because he knows Pluto's going to match his movements, and he gets Pluto to walk backwards into the fire.
Yeah. So because he's poured gasoline out, and he's gonna.
He's about to light the car on fire. So Jason, is the hero of the moment. He kills Pluto before Pluto kills them.
But then suddenly, like, Jason's out of view for like just a minute, and
Hmm.
suddenly he's gone.
Red, yeah, and we find out Red kidnapped him. So Addie's after Red, and um, he knows or she knows that he got taken into the Hall of Mirrors, right?
Yeah. And Addie is, just as a side note, it seems like she was very disturbed. Like, she was very bothered by Pluto walking backwards into the flames.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
because
as
that
a
was
mother, like, not she doesn't want that, for any child, but it's possible like she feels a connection to these kids even though they're trying to kill her and her family. Like, it seems like she still feels a connection to them, and she doesn't want to see this like happen.
right.
And then, she discovers that Jason's gone, and she's got to go down into the tunnels and, ride the escalator to hell down, back down.
Right. And
Back
Gabe
down.
and Gabe and Zora find a shelter in an abandoned ambulance.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, Addie goes down into the elevator to hell, as you called it, and then finally confronts Red in the final battle. The
Yeah.
which I
And
thought was very well scored, as far as like the
oh,
call back to the
so good.
I
Yeah.
got 5 on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and just, but the like orchestral version that they
Hmm.
used, and the way the whole ballet scene and fight scene is edited together between them, it's just fantastic. It's so good, and that score works out perfectly with it.
Yep.
That's probably like one of my favorite scenes in a horror movie, and it's like completely unconventional. It's not something you've seen in any other horror movie, the way that he's set this up, but it's really effective. And she's doing the ballet, and then we find out the whole reason why she was so special, and she was able to like set this chain of events into motion.
The Hands Across America chain of events?
Yeah, the Hands Across America chain of events.
Right, and I was taken aback. I'm like, why didn't I see this before? I think that's a really good point about a twist in a movie is making it like plausible, like, oh yeah, that really could have happened. And like, why didn't I see it before? Like in any movie, like you I think it's Sixth Sense, right? And it's like, why didn't I fucking see this? Like they gave us clues throughout the whole fucking thing, and we didn't realize it till at the very end when it was fucking slapped across our faces.
Yeah, and Jordan Peele does this so well. He does this like little twist at the end, and it's like, okay, this is what it was. Mm-hmm. And then you go back and you put all the little pieces together that were foreshadowing the thing the whole time. And I think you definitely see more of that when you rewatch it.
Yep.
The second time, you pick up on all those little, like, he straight up told you. He told you right there. And yeah, so you see that in this, and you see that a lot in Get Out as well, where it's like, yep, he told us. Yeah. He said it right there. We just didn't pick up on it,
Plain as day, yeah.
Yeah, plain as day.
And I was gonna say I remember when I first saw this and the fight scene happened and they were circling each other, and as soon as they started playing that orchestral version of "I Got Five on It," I got chills. I got chills on it because it was like, holy shit, that's so fucking cool. I've never seen that in a movie ever. Like do an orchestral version of a hip hop song.
Yeah.
You see it a lot, like with rock songs and blues songs or even like oldies, but it's the first time I ever seen it done with a hip hop song. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments, but I just thought it was fucking amazing.
Yeah, very, very cool. It was like a great use of soundtrack. And like overall, this whole movie I thought was just a really great use of the soundtrack. Like and it was parts at the beginning, and then you bring that chanting back. Several
the
times.
Composer, this is his second film. His first film was Get Lost or Get Out. Mm-hmm. And so this is like the composer. I'm like, he did a fabulous job throughout the whole movie, not just with the needle drops, but I don't know if he had anything to do with the needle drops, but just the background music was just chilling when it's supposed to be, light when it was supposed to be. He did an excellent job.
Yeah, and like you need that. Sound is so important, and sometimes the absence of sound is so important in horror movies to get that atmosphere. And if it's too over the top, it takes away from the overall feel of the movie. But there's a sweet spot there, and they really hit that sweet spot with the soundtrack of this movie.
Yeah, and it all culminated with the fight scene, and of course Addie wins, and then she finds Jason and they leave. The Hands Across America thing, I think. Well, let's talk about the twist at the end was the fact that they showed us what happened in the first scene when Addie went into the Hall of Mirrors. Red, or the doppelganger, gets the best of her, knocks her out, drags her, and handcuffs her to a bed, and then goes and takes her place in the room, takes her shirt off.
Handcuffs her to the bed, takes her Thriller t-shirt, puts the Hands Across America shirt on her, and, goes and assumes her identity.
Right, yeah. And when she's finally able, and that's why Red was able to talk. Out of all the doppelgangers, all the tethered, she's the only one who's able to talk because she already knew how to talk when she was 15 or 12 or 11, whatever it was.
Her doppelganger, when she's knocking her out on the bed, she chokes her.
Mm-hmm.
And so it crushes her windpipe a little bit or damages her vocal cords. So Red.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so Red, like the original Addie, Red, she can speak, but she speaks in a very hoarse, raspy,
labored.
Yeah, it's very difficult, but she can still speak. And she retains some of her identity.
Right. Yeah. And that's what the other tethered realized about her, and that's why she became like a leader to them.
Yeah, so she kind of was able to set the whole thing into motion and teach everybody how to kill using scissors. And be like, well, we're going to have a revolution and we're all going to get out of here and we're going to do Hands Across America, because that's the last thing that I remember from my childhood, is that Hands Across America was happening.
Yeah. And they show the final scene is like they pan up on this like sprawling like hillside, and you see like a bunch of people dressed in red holding hands across the hillside.
And you have no explanation for like, how long do they do this? When does it stop? Like, what do they do after? Like, where does this go after?
I was going to ask you that because I listened to this podcast called The Rewatchables, and all they do is review movies, like and it's rewatchable movies you'd watch like anytime it comes on, you're like, oh, I'm gonna watch this scene, and then you end up watching like the rest of it. And a new thing they add is like, what happened the next day. So what do you think happened the next day on this one?
I have to think that at some point law enforcement or the National Guard or
the military in some version, right?
Somebody is going to start getting this under control. But what do you do?
Yeah, because that.
Like, what do you do with them? It was like, do you lock them all up again? They're no longer tethered to. They're no longer tethered to their other person because they killed their other person.
Mm-hmm. But don't you think maybe like half of them, like maybe like on Army bases and Air Force bases, like maybe half of the soldiers get killed on U.S. soil anyway? If you're off somewhere, on a different base, or you're vacationing somewhere, like in the south of France, maybe you don't get killed. So because you're tethered is still in the tunnel, like somewhere, like pretending they're in the south of France.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know, because they no longer have Red to tell them what they're supposed to do. So now, in a sense, they are truly untethered.
Yeah.
But they don't have a leader. They don't have anybody that's controlling their actions anymore. So yeah, they eventually they just walk off and they're like, well, gonna go do something else,
Yeah, eventually they get wiped out because they have no free will. They have no mind of their own. Right?
Yeah, they don't know. Like, I don't know. I have no idea where you would even go from there. It's like, because the government you can't just come in and like, well, we're just going to mow them all down and pretend they didn't exist, because now the whole world knows they exist. So, so it's not like, well, we can just, poison them or something. Like, boo, they're gone. Like, do you try to put them on trial? They can't speak. None of them can assist in their own defense in any way. So it's not like you can really put them on trial. So it's like, what do you do?
They also, they don't have like a lot of it. There's no proof that they killed anybody anyway. They just appeared.
Right. Right, and it's like, the only way to tell if somebody's the doppelganger or the real person is whether or not they can talk, I guess. Like.
Right. So anyway, either way, however it ends, it does end. The movie ends. It's almost like a glorious ending too. The way they pan up and they show like, hey, we did it. We did what our counterpoints could never do.
Yeah, we did Hands Across America, and it's like. The idea of that is almost a little absurd. The fact that they did all this and that was their end game.
Yeah, it is absurd. You're right. Which
their
is
end game wasn't even to like assume their counterparts' lives. They weren't trying to move in. They were just like, well, I killed you. Now I'm untethered. Now I'm joining Hands Across America.
Yeah, it wasn't like body snatchers or anything. It was just like we wanted to do Hands Across America. That's all we wanted to do. That was good point.
So who knows? Who knows how long they stand there?
That's a part of Jordan Peele's humor right there. I think that's part of his the way he writes stuff, the way he thinks. I think it's hilarious. I never thought of that until you mentioned it right now. Some of the trivia that I found on IMDb, because I really love going on there. Jordan Peele gave the cast 11 horror films to watch, so they would have a shared language when filming. All right, keep a count. I want you to tell me how many of these films you've seen.
Okay.
All right. Jaws.
Of course.
Dead Again. Mm-hmm. The Shining.
Yeah, right.
Who hasn't? The Babadook. I've never heard of that one. Oh, you've seen it? Okay. It Follows. Mm-hmm. I just watched it. I thought it was really good. I liked it. It made me think about it afterwards. A Tale of Two Sisters.
Yep, that's a Korean horror movie, right? Maybe that's
2003. It says. I've never seen it, so I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's Korean horror.
All right. The Birds.
Of course, yeah.
Classic, very classic movie. Funny Games. I remember it. I never saw it though.
I'm not sure if I've seen that. I'll have to look it up.
The Martyrs, 2008. Mm-hmm. No, Let the Right One In, 2008. Mm-hmm. The Sixth Sense, 1989.
Yeah.
Wow, so you've seen 10 out of the 11?
I'm not sure. And
Funny Games. Hold on, I'm gonna click on it right now. I'm gonna click on it, and it is director Michael Haneke. Also, he wrote it with Susan Lothar, Ulrich Mouye, Arno Frisch. Wow, I've never even heard of this movie. Two violent young men take a mother, father, and son hostage in their vacation cabin and force them to play sadistic games with one another for their own amusement.
I don't think I saw this. I
don't think so either.
I think I actually avoided seeing this because somebody told me it was pretty disturbing. So I might have to go. I might have to go back and watch it and see.
Is that the one where like there's a family in a log cabin and like they look outside and there's like a bunch of like 3 or 4 people like with hoods on and they try not to let them in, and they get in and then they hold them hostage?
Yeah, they hold them hostage and I think they kind of do like, it's kind of the same concept as like Saw, where it's like, you have to make a choice about whether you're going to do this or this is going to happen to somebody else. And it's kind of like, but it's a family. So, you have like the mom has to decide if she's going to save the husband or the son, or, it's like all of these horrible, horrible choices, I think is what it is. But I'm going to have to go watch it and make sure. I think A Tale of Two Sisters, I believe they bring.
Yeah,
it is home from a mental institution where she's been institutionalized for a while, and then
it is a Korean movie.
Okay, and then it looks like, I thought there was also a pretty recent American remake of that, but
oh yeah, maybe. After spending the time in a mental institution, 2 devoted sisters return home to the home of their father and cruel stepmother. Once there, in addition to dealing with their stepmother's obsessive, unbalanced ways, an interfering ghost also affects their recovery. So there you go. And it was one of the first to be screened in American theaters.
Yeah, don't read too much about it in case you want to watch it, because it does have a good twist.
I do like. Speaking of twists, Parasite was so fucking great. I don't know if you saw that one.
Yeah. That was really.
I think that's the first Korean movie I saw like remade or dubbed or anything. It was all in Korean, the subtitles, and I didn't mind. I thought that year, I understand why it won. I did like Once Upon a Time in America a little. No, the Joker that year. I thought I was a little bit better than Parasite. The um, what's the Joaquin Phoenix, the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was fucking fabulous, but I understand why Parasite won that year. Moving on to the next trivia on IMDb about Us. Lupita Nyong'o's based red voice on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and specifically the spasmodic dysphonia he suffers from. And I had no idea he suffered from that.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see it now that I know that's what she was basing it on. Yeah, I can see it.
The filmmakers did not need to do much work on Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, as many games and rides are originals going far back as the 1910s. And I gotta say, I think I told you this on our first recording, but I don't know if our listeners really realize, but Walt Disney got his ideas for his dark rides at Disneyland based on the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalks a dark ride, the caveman train dark ride. Now I'm talking dark ride as in like, like the Alice in Wonderland, the Peter Pan, the Pinocchio, like where you go on like you're on a like a train or a cart or something, and you go through like a dark, you're not in the sun, you're like in a room, and you go through and you talk about, and you go through like an experience.
Yeah.
And so he based a lot of his rides on that because of the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. He was there and he rode on the ride and he liked the idea. And
I didn't know that. That's actually really cool.
I was there with my daughter. I think she was about 4 or 5 years old, and we went on that specific ride, the train, and it's been upkept and everything. But you're on the train. It's really slow moving, and you go into this cave. And it gets really dark for a little while. Like the whole train is in darkness. And I was sitting next to my daughter and she goes, "Dada, yeah, are you still here?" Because she couldn't see me. And I go, "Yeah." And I go, "Here." And then like I scooted next to her and I had to put my arm around her just to let her know I was still there. That's how dark this ride is. It just gets totally pitch black. And then you see scenes of like, all the cavemen and dinosaurs and animals and whatever and rocks are like painted in like fluorescent paint. And then there's black lights, so everything kind of glows after that. But right when you enter that tunnel, it's pitch black, and even if it's like a 90-degree day, bright, no clouds in the sky, a day, you cannot see anything for like 2 or 3 seconds.
That's pretty creepy.
Yeah.
That's honestly that is pretty creepy.
But yeah, I thought it was funny.
Creepy. I don't think it's supposed to be scary, but that's like.
It's just supposed to remove you of the outside world and trying to delve you into this. But when you look at like the animatronics or the robots that they have of the caveman, totally cartoonish. It's
right. Of course.
Like The Lost Boys in 1987, several key scenes take place on Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. This is even referenced in Adelaide's. Says they're shooting a movie over there by the carousel.
Oh.
So yeah, if you watch the Lost Boys, the opening scene, there's a security guard walking to his car, and a bunch of, I don't even know if it's the opening scene. I think it's like little kind of into the movie, right?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't he like kick the boys off the boardwalk anyway. You see a POV like them swooping down. You can see like the whole like Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk and the rides and everything.
Yeah. I had no idea that's where that was.
Let's see. They have here the Jeremiah 11:11. Duke Nicholson's character are named Danny and Tony, and Jordan Peele told them to play a part like Lloyd, the bartender from The Shining, not realizing that he is Jack Nicholson's.
Really?
Let me see here. Yeah. So Duke Nicholson, he plays Jason, right? Isn't that the name of Jason's character, or the name of the actor who plays Jason? During the filming at Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, the rides were all filmed with dummy, and CGI was used to create moving people. Overhead shot of the Wilsons driving. Oh, your favorite, one of your favorite shots.
Oh,
The overhead
yeah.
shot of the Wilsons driving to the vacation home, along with synchronized speech and mannerisms of the twins, is a reference to The Shining.
That makes perfect sense. It seems like he does a lot of references to The Shining, and there, some in Get Out also.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I could see that. But yeah, in this one, yeah, because when Jack and Shelly were driving to the Overlook Hotel,
Mm-hmm.
is that what it's called in The
Yeah, the
Shining?
Overlook.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the overhead shot of them, driving through the forest and the hills and the mountains, I should say. Between takes, Lupita Nyong'o would remain in character as Red, much to the consternation of the cast and crew. I wonder if she talked to him that way too.
She's just fucking with everybody.
Right, you're right.
That's pretty hilarious, actually. Yeah, but I mean, that would definitely freak me out. She would scare the shit out of me if I had to be on set. Just what if you're just like the craft services cart guy, and your job is to push the cart, and she's still in character, and she's like talking to you all creepy. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, yes, I would.
Yeah, and that would freak me out. I would be like, you know what? I don't need this job as bad as I think I did, and leave.
Hey, but it helped. I mean, she was so fucking fantastic in this movie. She, even though they all did well, she outshines everybody.
Yeah,
I mean, she really
is amazing.
Ironically, the name of the Tyler's unhelpful, and virtual assistant Ophelia derives from the Greek Ophelia. I'm probably butchered that, meaning help. It actually means help.
Okay, that makes sense. That's fair.
Yeah. And there's so many, but I'm going to just end it right here. The fast food that the family Copperpots, a nod to Chester Copperpot, the legendary treasure hunter in the Goonies, which is referenced many times in the movie. And plus in Nope, I think we talk about they eat Copperpots.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah. Copperpots is the seafood restaurant, right?
Yep, that's right. All right, anything else you'd like to add for Jordan Peele Love Fest for us?
I don't know. I think that we already addressed what they do afterwards. We don't know what happens afterwards. I think I had some crazy thoughts where I was overthinking it. I may or may not have been really high, and I was overthinking it about this is an allegory for killing your shadow self and all this stuff. But now that I'm sober, it makes less sense.
Nah, well, maybe some people out there, they're listening to us, so maybe it makes total sense.
Yeah, maybe it might, but I feel like with this movie and with Get Out, I feel like there were a lot of people who were very critical and saying that there was some kind of bullshit social justice message that was being shoved down their throats or whatever. And it was I found that really frustrating, that there were a lot of people in the horror community who dismissed us and didn't even watch it because they didn't enjoy Get Out.
That's crazy. I can see that though.
But they're very, very different films. Stylistically, there's parallels and stuff, but they're very, very different films. And
for sure.
And also,
this is more of a horror movie, and the other one was more like a racial commentary. If you want to go that route,
if you want to go that route,
it does hit you over the head with it. But I like the way this movie doesn't really portray that. There's really no racial overtones in this movie.
Yeah, and so
there's some subtle there are subtle tones of racism or racial differences, but for the most part, it's just two families who get dealing with doppelgangers or horrible situations in their own way.
Right, and they're dealing with this horrible circumstances, but it's just that's just a little pet peeve that I had where I found out a lot of people in the horror community didn't even see this movie, and it's such a fantastic movie, but they didn't even bother to see it. So I wonder, in a few months, I'm going to go back and look at reviews from Nope and see if more people saw that one or less. You know, because
That's a good point.
I hate that. It's like, you know, it's completely different. These are three like very different films from each other. So, you know, even if you didn't like Us, you probably would still like Nope. You don't know, but you don't know unless you actually go see it. So.
Right. Or you're a racist and you just don't like black people in the lead.
Yeah, but you know, that happens. That there's a lot of that in the horror community as well. It's like but you know, horror as a genre has always been kind of a place where these things are explored. Like, look at Candyman, or all the way back to The Stuff, which is all about like rampant capitalism and consumerism. The People Under the Stairs, that's a good one.
Oh, that's a really
like,
good one. John Carpenter,
really
yeah.
Yeah, People Under the Stairs.
Oh yeah, my friends and I were obsessed with that one when it came out on VHS. Yeah, we bought it and we just watched it over and over again.
Yeah, that you know, I rewatched that movie I think middle of last year, and it was still really, like, it held up like really, really well. And then like some parts of it became even more, like, felt even more relevant because, you know, it kind of delves into the whole like slumlord, gentrification, irresponsible landlord kind of things. And it's like, amazing how that's still relevant.
Yeah, right. Yeah, John Carpenter, he knows how to fucking write a movie. I think he might have been one of Peele's inspirations anyway. I love the part on People in this. My friends and I, we used to get high and used to go, "Oh, I got him! I got him! I got him! I got him!" When he thought he stabbed his own dog, but he thought it was the kid, right?
Yeah.
When he stabbed him through the wall.
Yeah, he stabbed him through the wall. Yeah.
Poor doggy though.
But that, you know, that was my little tangent there. So.
What do you? I mean, I guess I'm stepping over our next, but what do you think of what do you think Jordan Peele's going to do next? Another horror movie, a drama, a comedy? What would you like him, or do you even care? Like whatever he writes, and directs, you're going to just go see.
Yeah, whatever he does, I'm going to go see it anyway, because, you know, whatever it is, I'm sure it's going to be something different, and, you know, it'll be unique, and you know, it'll have enough of the elements that I like in movies to get me to go to the theater, I think. And at this point, I feel like his name commands an audience.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I
like,
see that.
Just based on, it's like, oh, it's the new Jordan Peele movie. Like, I'm probably going to go see it just because I'm a fan of his other work. But I would like to see another horror movie, and I would like it to be called Fuck That. Because throughout the entire movie, I was constantly saying, nope. And throughout the entire movie, nope, I was constantly saying, fuck that.
Fuck that.
So
that's so fucking awesome.
It should be called F progression. Fuck that.
As a marketing device, so you'd have to say F that. You couldn't say fuck that.
Because you couldn't put that on a fuck that. Yeah. But that would be that's my hope for the next movie, is that it's just going to be fuck that.
So I went up to his IMDb. He's got a couple voiceovers coming out in the next couple years. So as far as acting goes, he's just doing this work. And as far as the directorship goes, let me see here. Yeah, I don't I scrolled too far. I don't see anything.
Nothing in the works right now.
Nope. No post-production on anything yet.
Out of curiosity, did you watch Twilight Zone? That he did the.
I have not seen his Twilight Zones. No, not yet. I know I've seen all the old ones. I love all the old ones. I know he was involved with the new ones. I have not seen it.
Okay, so just so that you know, each season there is something that ties all of the episodes together, and you won't know what it is until the last episode of each season. And it's so good. And it's going to be that same experience where it was slapping you in the face the whole time. So highly recommend. I think those are available for free on Pluto TV.
On Prime? On Pluto? Okay, I got
I'm
Pluto.
not sure if they're on Prime. They used to be for a little while, but then I think they moved to Paramount Plus. And I think Paramount owns Pluto
You're right.
TV, so I think they have those up there.
It is on Paramount Plus here right now. All right, thanks. This with me. This one a little bit longer than the last one, but I think we touched on some really good points.
Yeah, I think
this was a better episode.
We had some little breaks you can probably cut out for continuity, but don't cut out any of my random tangents, because why would you?
Yeah, of course. We gotta love your tangents. Thank you so much.
It's good to talk to you.
You too. Bye-bye.